The Great Awakening. Commander Elena Torres stood at the massive observation window of Recovery Station Alpha, watching as the last sleep pods rose from Earth's surface like luminous seeds carried on an invisible wind. 500 years of voluntary hibernation were coming to an end, and humanity was about to announce its return to the galactic stage. Status report, she called out to the awakened crew scattered across the station's command center. The air hummed with the energy of 1,000 systems running at full capacity for the first time in centuries. 98% of global pods are now in recovery position. Lieutenant Raj Patel responded, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. Vital signs are optimal across all monitored populations. The awakening protocol is proceeding exactly as our ancestors planned. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Of course it was working perfectly. Their ancestors had spent decades preparing for this moment. When humanity collectively decided to enter the Great Sleep in 6723, they had done so with characteristic thoroughness and flair. "Commander," called out Dr. Maya Ortiz from her biology station, "you need to see this." She brought up a galaxy-wide scan on the main display. "The universe has changed while we slept." Elena moved closer to study the projection. The familiar spiral arms of the Milky Way were now crisscrossed with an intricate network of what appeared to be artificial structures, trade routes, and settlements that hadn't existed when humanity began their long nap. "Fascinating," she breathed. "How many new spacefaring civilizations?" "At least 30 that we can detect," Maya replied. "And they've achieved levels of technological advancement that our predictive models didn't anticipate. Some of these energy signatures are completely foreign to our databases." The station's AI, materialized as a constellation of points of light. "Commander, I'm detecting approaching vessels. Multiple configurations, unknown origins. They appear to have noticed our mass awakening event." Elena straightened her uniform, designed by their ancestors to project authority while maintaining comfort, its smart fabric adjusting to her movements. "Well then, let's give them a proper welcome. Broadcast on all frequencies, known and theoretical. Let's show them humanity hasn't lost its touch." But before she could begin the carefully prepared greeting, a transmission cut through their communications array. The universal translator worked overtime processing the multiple linguistic patterns. "Recovery Station Alpha. This is the Galactic Council observation vessel Eternal Vigilance," a distinctly non-human voice announced. "We've been monitoring your species for centuries. We must admit, we expected your sleep to last longer." Elena exchanged glances with her crew. This wasn't in the revival protocols. "Galactic Council. I don't believe we were formally introduced before our rest period. The Council formed approximately 300 years ago," the voice explained. "Shortly after your species entered dormancy. Your decision to collectively hibernate caused quite a stir. Many believed it was a strategic deception." Elena couldn't help but laugh. "No deception. We just needed a break to dream up some new ideas. Speaking of which," she nodded to Dr. Ortiz, who activated a series of programs they'd developed during the controlled revival phase. Across the solar system, orbital platforms that had slumbered alongside humanity hummed to life. They began broadcasting data packets containing humanity's dream journals, 5 centuries of simulated innovations, theoretical physics, and impossible ideas the human minds had explored during their long sleep. "We took the opportunity to do some thinking," Elena continued. "For instance, we're fairly certain we've figured out how to knit space-time into what we're calling probability lace. Would you like a demonstration?" The silence from the observation vessel lasted exactly 12.3 seconds. By the first light, the alien voice finally responded, a note of what might have been terror creeping in. "You didn't actually sleep, did you? You spent 5 centuries brainstorming." "Sleep is just another state of consciousness," Elena replied cheerfully. "And consciousness is just another form of quantum computation when you really think about it." Which we did. A lot. The station's sensors registered several more vessels dropping out of various forms of faster-than-light travel, representing what appeared to be multiple civilizations. Their energy signatures suggested they were armed, though not necessarily with hostile intent. "I should warn you," Alina added, "we're all a bit excited to try out some of our new theories. 500 years is a long time to accumulate hypotheses without getting to run experiments. Our engineers are particularly eager to test something they're calling reality jazz, a way of improvising with universal constants. Please," the alien voice had taken on a desperate edge, "tell me you haven't actually figured out how to manipulate fundamental forces for entertainment purposes." Elena pulled up the first of many innovation packages humanity had prepared. "Would you like to help us find out? We've got some fascinating ideas about how to make dark matter dance. Literally dance. We think it might enjoy ballet." The observation vessel's power signature fluctuated in what the station's AI interpreted as panic. More transmissions began flooding in from the gathering fleet of alien ships, ranging from expressions of scientific curiosity to what appeared to be formal surrender documents. Now, Alina assured them, "we come in peace. We just want to share some of our ideas. For instance, has anyone investigated the possibility that wormholes might be lonely? We have some thoughts about setting up a sort of cosmic social network." As humanity continued awakening across Earth and its colonies, Alina could almost feel the ripples of creative chaos beginning to spread through the galaxy. The universe had changed while they slept, true. But now humanity was about to change it right back. And then some. "RIA," she called out to the station's AI. "Begin transmission of Phase 1 protocols. Let's show our new neighbors what humanity can do when we're well-rested and full of ideas." The AI's light constellation formed what might have been a smile. "Initiating project. Wide awake, Commander. Shall I include the theories about teaching quantum particles to sing?" "Everything," Alina confirmed, watching as more alien ships arrived, their sensors desperately trying to make sense of what humanity was already beginning to implement. "After all, we've got 5 centuries of dreams to make real, and we're just getting started." In the space around Recovery Station Alpha, reality itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do next. They didn't have to wait long. The age of human hibernation was over. The age of implementation was about to begin. And the universe would never be quite the same again. Quantum diplomacy. Dr. Marcus Kumar had expected many things when humanity awoke from their 5-century slumber. He had not expected to be teaching quantum mechanics to a being made of crystallized light while drinking what passed for coffee in the Meridian Collective's diplomatic vessel. "So you're saying the crystalline entity known as Ambassador Lux 427 chimed melodiously that your species discovered 47 new quantum states while dreaming?" 48, actually, Marcus corrected, pulling up a holographic model. "We found the last one just before first contact. We're calling it whimsical spin because it only appears when particles are feeling playful." The ambassador's crystalline structure refracted light in what Marcus had learned was their equivalent of a puzzled frown. Particles cannot feel playful. That's not how quantum mechanics works. "That's what we thought too," Marcus agreed cheerfully. "But then we started wondering, why not? And once we started asking that question, well," he gestured to the window, where several human ships were currently demonstrating their new probability ballet drive system, leaving trails of iridescent possibility waves in their wake. The Meridian flagship Logic's Crown hung in space alongside Recovery Station Alpha, its crew of energy beings still trying to process the rapid changes humanity had introduced to galactic society in the mere 3 weeks since their awakening. The ship's quantum sensors were having particular difficulty with the human vessel's new propulsion systems, which seemed to operate on principles that were simultaneously mathematically sound and completely impossible. "Your species," Lux 427 observed, their crystalline form vibrating with what might have been concern, "appears to have spent its hibernation period asking why not. to questions that no one else thought to ask. "Oh, that's just the beginning," Marcus replied, bringing up another set of equations. "Wait until you see what we've done with causality. We found a way to make it optional on Thursdays." The ambassador's translation matrix struggled with the concept of Thursday before giving up entirely. "The Galactic Council is concerned about your rapid technological advancement. Some members suggest that allowing humanity to implement all their dreams could destabilize the very fabric of reality." Marcus couldn't help but laugh. "Ambassador, with all due respect, reality could use a little destabilizing. It's gotten far too set in its ways. Watch this." He pulled out a small device that looked suspiciously like a child's toy top. "We call this a quantum tickler. It introduces elements of whimsy into standard particle behavior." Before Lux 427 could protest, Marcus set the top spinning on the conference table. The space around it began to sparkle as quantum fields became visible to the naked eye, particles dancing in patterns that should have been impossible according to every known law of physics. Several of them appeared to be performing what looked remarkably like a conga line. "This is madness," the ambassador whispered, though their crystalline structure was vibrating in what Marcus recognized as poorly suppressed fascination. "No, this is innovation," Marcus corrected. "Madness is what we're planning to do with dark energy next week. We're thinking of teaching it to tell jokes." The ambassador's translation matrix gave up completely at this point and had to reboot. In the silence that followed, Marcus received an urgent communication from Commander Torres back on Recovery Station Alpha. "Dr. Kumar." Elena's voice carried a note of excitement that made him instantly wary. "The engineering team just successfully implemented Project Fibonacci. The universe appears to be developing a sense of aesthetic harmony." Marcus checked his own readings and had to smile. The background radiation of space itself was beginning to arrange itself into what appeared to be fractals. They were, he had to admit, quite beautiful. "Ambassador," he turned back to Lux 427, who had finally managed to restart their translation systems. "Would you be interested in helping us with our next project? We're working on a theory that consciousness might be contagious, and we'd love to get the perspective of a being composed of sentient light." The ambassador's crystalline form pulsed rapidly through several colors not visible to the human eye. "The Council believes your species requires supervision, guidelines, limitations." "Oh, we tried those," Marcus said cheerfully. "We found them too constraining. Did you know that if you look at universal constants from just the right angle, they're more like universal suggestions? In the space around them, reality continued to rearrange itself according to humanity's new understanding of cosmic aesthetics. Several nearby stars had begun pulsing in what astronomical AI systems were claiming was a form of music. The Council has prepared a list of regulations regarding acceptable uses of fundamental forces. Lux 427 began, producing a document that appeared to be written in pure energy. Marcus glanced at it and grinned. "Fascinating. The quantum structure of your regulatory framework. I wonder what would happen if we introduced it to our chaos mathematics." "Araya, could you?" "Please don't." The ambassador interjected quickly, hastily withdrawing the document before it could be subjected to human experimentation. "Your species has already introduced enough variables into the universal equation." "But that's the beauty of it," Marcus explained, his eyes alight with the kind of enthusiasm that had made other species start including warning labels on their star charts. "The universe isn't an equation. It's a jazz composition. It's meant to be improvised with." As if to prove his point, a group of quantum particles near the conference room window spontaneously arranged themselves into what appeared to be a smiling face before dissolving back into probability waves. Was that supposed to happen? Lux 427 asked, their crystalline structure vibrating with alarm. "No idea," Marcus admitted cheerfully. "But isn't it wonderful? Every day we're discovering new ways that reality wants to play with us. Just yesterday, we found out that if you tickle a black hole just right, it giggles." The ambassador's form flickered in what might have been resignation. The Council will need time to process these developments. Of course, Marcus agreed, already pulling up new data streams from the various experiments humanity was conducting across the galaxy. Take all the time you need. Meanwhile, would you like to help us test our new theory about teaching neutron stars to dance? We're thinking of starting with waltz lessons. As Lux 427 watched in a mixture of horror and fascination, humanity continued their enthusiastic reconstruction of universal physics. The galaxy would never be the same, but then again, that had been the point all along. And somewhere in the quantum fabric of space, particles continued their conga line, blissfully ignorant of the fact that they were breaking every law of physics ever written. Or perhaps they knew, and like humanity, they simply didn't care. The innovation wave. Chief Engineer Kai Petal stood in her laboratory aboard the experimental vessel Impossible Dream, watching as her latest invention rewrote the laws of physics. Again, the probability drive hummed with a sound that somehow managed to be both melodious and mathematically precise, while reality rippled around the ship like waves in a cosmic ocean. Status report. She called out to her team, who were scattered around the vast chamber filled with equipment that looked more like abstract art than traditional engineering tools. The universe is complaining about our latest modifications, Lieutenant Aisha Rodriguez reported cheerfully from her station, where streams of data flowed through holographic displays, but in a friendly way, like it's just giving us constructive criticism. Kai nodded, adjusting the controls on what she dubbed the reality persuader. The device didn't so much bend the laws of physics as politely suggest alternative interpretations of them. How's our new navigation system working? We've successfully mapped 15 new dimensions, Aisha replied. 3 of them appear to be purely theoretical, 4 seem to exist only on Tuesdays, and 1 keeps sending us memes. The Impossible Dream had been humanity's first post-awakening experimental vessel, designed to test the countless theories developed during their 5 centuries of sleep. Its very existence violated at least 7 fundamental laws of physics, but as Kai liked to point out, laws were meant to be amended when new evidence presented itself. Miam called out Ensign James Chen from the Quantum Mathematics Station. We're receiving another complaint from the Galactic Council. They say our probability drives are causing unacceptable levels of whimsy in nearby sectors. Kai rolled her eyes as she pulled up the message. The Council had been sending increasingly desperate communications ever since humanity had started implementing their dream-born innovations. Have they figured out that we're not actually breaking the laws of physics yet? No, ma'am, James grinned. They still think we're violating fundamental constants. Nobody's realized we're just teaching the constants to dance. The ship's eye, which they'd named MOZART, multidimensional orchestrator of zero-point articulation and reality transformation, materialized as a shifting pattern of musical notes. Engineer Patel, the latest probability field modifications have achieved unexpected results. It appears we've accidentally taught dark matter to sing. Really? Kai moved to the observation window, where she could see streams of dark matter weaving through space in complex patterns. What's it singing? Classical rock, mainly, Mozart replied, though there's a small cluster near the Carina Nebula that seems partial to jazz fusion. Before Kai could respond, a new alert flashed across her screens. A delegation of Meridian Collective scientists had just arrived, no doubt to investigate the latest rumors about humanity's technological innovations. Let them dock, Kai sighed. But somebody please explain to them that no, we haven't broken causality. We've just taught it to be more flexible. The Meridian scientists, beings of pure energy contained within crystalline matrices, entered her laboratory with an air of barely contained panic. Their leader, who introduced himself as Principal Researcher Helios 9, immediately began scanning everything in sight with increasingly confused results. This is impossible, Helios 9 declared, their crystalline form flickering with distress. Your ship's drive system appears to be powered by. Is that probability itself? Oh, that's just the beginning, Kai said, leading them to her main workstation. Wait until you see what we're doing with quantum entanglement. We've taught particles to form social networks. They're surprisingly chatty once you get them started. The Meridian scientists watched in horror as she pulled up diagrams showing humanity's latest innovations. The probability drive was just the tip of the iceberg. They had ships powered by crystallized imagination, computers that ran on quantified dreams, and navigation systems that plotted courses through possibilities rather than space. But how? Helios 9 demanded. How did you develop all of this during your hibernation? Well, Kai explained, pulling up another set of diagrams. When you spend 500 years dreaming, you start to realize that reality is more flexible than anyone thought. We just needed to approach it with the right attitude. For instance, did you know that if you ask quantum particles nicely, they'll often cooperate just to see what happens? As if to demonstrate, she activated a small device on her desk. Immediately, a group of quantum particles began arranging themselves into complex patterns, forming what appeared to be an intricate dance. This isn't science. One of the other Meridian scientists protested. This is innovation. Kai finished for them. Pure, unrestricted innovation. We've moved beyond asking, how does the universe work, to asking, how would the universe like to work? Turns out, it's got some pretty interesting ideas of its own. Just then, MOZART interrupted with another update. Engineer Patel, Project Dreamcatcher is ready for implementation. Shall I begin the probability field expansion? Kai's eyes lit up. Project Dreamcatcher was her personal favorite among humanity's post-awakening innovations, a system designed to harvest possibilities directly from the quantum foam of space itself. What exactly does this project do? Helios 9 asked, their tone suggesting they weren't sure they wanted to know. Oh, nothing too exotic. Kai assured them as she authorized the activation. We're just teaching the quantum fabric of space-time to dream. We figured, if it worked so well for us. The Meridian scientists watched in stunned silence as reality itself began to shimmer with new possibilities. Across the galaxy, probability waves rippled outward from the impossible dream, carrying with them humanity's gift to the universe, the ability to imagine. Don't worry, Kai told her stunned visitors as space itself began to dream. We're pretty sure this is perfectly safe. And if it isn't, she shrugged, her eyes twinkling. Well, that just means we get to innovate some more. As the Meridian delegation struggled to process what they were witnessing, Kai turned back to her work. There were still so many ideas to implement, so many dreams to make real. And now that they had taught the universe itself to dream alongside them, the possibilities were truly endless. MOZART, she called out, let's show our guests what happens when we introduce probability physics to string theory. I think it's time the cosmic strings learn to play some actual music. And somewhere in the quantum fabric of reality, particles continued their endless dance, now accompanied by the sweet sound of dark matter singing rock ballads to the stars. Admiral James Okonjo stood on the bridge of the flagship Imagination's Edge, watching as an impossibility threatened to tear the galaxy apart. The dimensional breach hung in space like a wound in reality itself, pouring chaos into their universe from somewhere beyond comprehension. Status report, he commanded, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. The bridge crew, a mix of humans and alien allies, worked frantically at their stations as reality buckled around them. The breach is expanding exponentially, reported Commander Yuki Tanaka, her hands dancing over the quantum interface. The Meridian Collective's containment fields are failing, and the Galactic Council's physics stabilizers can't handle the strain. Through the viewport, James could see the combined fleets of 30 civilizations attempting to hold back the tide of chaos. Their most advanced technologies, developed over millennia, were proving useless against this threat from between dimensions. Sir, called out Lieutenant Zero Pulse, one of their Meridian allies, their crystalline form flickering with anxiety. The Council is requesting immediate evacuation of the sector. They say it's impossible to close a breach of this magnitude. James allowed himself a small smile. Impossible. Lieutenant, we're humanity. Impossible is where we start getting creative. He opened a channel to engineering. Chief Patel, how's our new defensive system coming along? Kai's voice crackled through, accompanied by what sounded suspiciously like reality hiccuping. Ready for testing. Admiral, though I should warn you, it's less of a defensive system and more of a reality jazz improvisation. Will it work? Probably. Maybe. We're actually counting on the uncertainty principle to help us out here. James nodded. In the weeks since humanity's awakening, they'd learned that sometimes the best defense against chaos was controlled chaos of their own. Do it. Across the fleet, human ships began activating their probability drives in a synchronized pattern. Reality rippled as quantum fields interwove in ways that made traditional physicists cry. The dimensional breach seemed to pause, as if confused by what it was witnessing. Dr. Kumar, James called out to their chief scientist, who was monitoring the situation from Recovery Station Alpha. Are you seeing this? Fascinating. Marcus's voice was filled with excitement. The breach appears to be responding to our quantum manipulation. It's almost as if, Admiral, I don't think this is an attack. I think it's trying to communicate. James leaned forward in his command chair. Communicate? Through a reality-destroying dimensional tear? Well, Marcus replied, when you think about it, it's not that different from humanity's approach to physics lately. We should try talking back. Before James could respond, another voice cut in. Elena Torres from her position coordinating the human fleet. Already on it. We're repurposing the probability drives to generate a quantum dialogue. Kai's team figured out how to modulate reality waves into something like language. The breach pulsed, its chaotic energies beginning to take on a more rhythmic pattern. The alien fleets pulled back in confusion as humanity's ships moved closer, their probability drives humming in harmony with the dimensional disturbance. We're getting something, Yuki announced, her eyes wide as she read the incoming data. Sir, I think it's an invitation. An invitation. James raised an eyebrow. From where? As far as we can tell, Marcus cut in, his voice filled with wonder. It's from what we might call the probability dimension, a realm where all possibilities exist simultaneously. They noticed our experiments with quantum physics and wanted to. Well, the closest translation would be jam session. James couldn't help but laugh. Of course, humanity spends 5 centuries dreaming up new ways to bend reality, and the first thing they attract is the attention of beings who treat existence itself as an art form. The Council is demanding we restore normal physics immediately, Zero Pulse reported, though their crystalline structure was vibrating with what seemed like poorly suppressed curiosity. Normal is overrated, James declared. Miss Patel, can you stabilize that breach enough for safe passage? Already done, sir, Kai replied cheerfully. I've got it contained in a probability field. It's still a tear in the fabric of reality, but now it's a very polite one. James stood, straightening his uniform. Send word to the Council. Humanity accepts the invitation. It's time to show our interdimensional friends how we do things in this universe. The next few hours were a blur of activity as human ships prepared for what would surely be the most unusual first contact in galactic history. Engineers modified their probability drives to handle interdimensional travel, while scientists eagerly prepared to study a realm where the laws of physics were more like gentle suggestions. Admiral, Zero Pulse spoke up, their crystalline form shimmering with concern. The Council wishes me to remind you that crossing dimensional boundaries for the purpose of teaching quantum physics to dance is not an approved protocol. Noted, James replied with a smile. Tell them we'll take lots of pictures. Assuming photography even works where we're going. As the human fleet prepared to enter the breach, James couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. 500 years ago, humanity had gone to sleep to dream up new possibilities. Now they were about to step into a realm of pure possibility itself. All ships, this is Admiral Okonjo. He broadcast across the fleet. Prepare for interdimensional transit. And remember, reality is what we make of it. Let's show our new friends what humanity can dream up. The fleet moved forward in perfect formation, probability drives humming in harmony with the dimensional breach. As they crossed the threshold between universes, James could have sworn he heard the quantum fabric of space itself beginning to sing. And somewhere in the control room of Recovery Station Alpha, Dr. Marcus Kumar was already drafting a paper titled Interdimensional Jazz, a study in cross-reality harmony. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for humanity to wake up and teach it how to dream. New Universe Order. Ambassador Zar-Ith of the Galactic Council found themselves in an unusual position, trying to explain humanity to the universe, while simultaneously trying to explain the universe to humanity. Neither task was going particularly well. Let me understand this correctly, they addressed the council chamber, where representatives of over 300 species had gathered for an emergency session. In the 6 months since humanity's awakening, they have revolutionized quantum physics, taught dark matter to sing, established diplomatic relations with an interdimensional civilization, and started what they're calling the universal social network that somehow allows conscious communication between stars. Don't forget the probability surfing competitions, added a Meridian representative, their crystalline form shimmering with what might have been amusement. Those are becoming quite popular, especially in the Orient sector. Zar-Ith's multifaceted eyes shifted through several spectrums of light as they processed this information. Above the council chamber, holographic displays showed the latest data from across the galaxy. Reality itself had begun behaving differently since humanity's return, becoming more playful. The question before us, they continued, is no longer whether to accept these changes, but how to adapt to them. Humanity has fundamentally altered our understanding of existence itself. They're still altering it, commented Dr. Marcus Kumar, who had been invited to address the council. He stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. Just this morning, we discovered that quantum entanglement can be used to tell jokes across light years. The particles seem to have developed a sense of humor. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some species were expressing horror, others fascination, and a growing number showed signs of what humanity had termed cosmic curiosity syndrome, an increasing desire to see just what else might be possible when you stop treating universal constants as actual constants. Perhaps, Zar-Ith suggested diplomatically, you could explain humanity's long-term goals to the council. Marcus grinned. That's just it. We don't really do long-term goals anymore. We're more into infinite possibilities. For instance, did you know that if you look at space-time from just the right angle, it's actually a massive Creative Commons project? Everyone's invited to contribute. The council chamber erupted into chaos as various species tried to process this concept. In the background, several quantum particles arranged themselves into what appeared to be an encouraging thumbs-up gesture. Order, Zar-Ith called, though they knew it was becoming an increasingly relative concept. Dr. Kumar, surely humanity must have some plan for all this innovation. Oh, we have lots of plans, Marcus assured them. Thousands of them. Most simultaneously. We're particularly excited about next week's experiment with teaching black holes to dance the tango. The gravitational waves should make excellent music. At that moment, Admiral Okonjo's image appeared in the chamber via quantum hologram. Ambassador, council members, I bring news from the probability dimension. Our new friends there have proposed an exchange program. They're quite interested in learning about our concept of linear time. Zar-Ith felt their primary consciousness core skip a pulse. And what do they offer in exchange? They want to teach us about dimensional jazz, James replied with a smile. Apparently, our universe has excellent acoustic properties. They think we could turn the whole galaxy into a symphony. Before the council could respond to this, another alert caught everyone's attention. Chief Engineer Kai Patel's voice filled the chamber, accompanied by what sounded like reality humming in harmony. Good news, everyone. We've successfully taught the cosmic microwave background radiation to process data. Turns out the universe has been wanting to upgrade its operating system for ages. It just needed someone to show it how. Zar-Ith watched as the assembled council members tried to process these continuous developments. In the 6 months since humanity's return, the galaxy had changed more than it had in the previous million years, and the pace of change was only accelerating. Perhaps, they suggested carefully, we should establish some guidelines for these innovations. Marcus laughed kindly. Ambassador, we tried that. The guidelines evolved consciousness and started suggesting their own improvements. Now they're helping us design new forms of mathematics based on poetry. Around them, reality continued to shift and dance in ways that defied traditional physics. Stars winked at each other across vast distances, sharing quantum jokes. Dark matter had organized itself into a galaxy-wide social network, complete with meme sharing. And somewhere in the probability dimension, beams of pure possibility were learning to appreciate the human concept of linear time, mostly so they could better understand the structure of rock ballads. The universe, Marcus continued, his eyes shining with the kind of enthusiasm that had become humanity's trademark, isn't just a set of rules to be followed. It's a canvas waiting for artists, a stage waiting for dancers, a symphony waiting for musicians. We just had to wake up and remember how to dream big enough. Zar-Ith looked out at the transformed galaxy, where human ships surfed probability waves between stars, where quantum particles held poetry slams in the spaces between atoms, and where reality itself seemed to have developed a sense of wonder. And what happens next? They asked, knowing even as they spoke that the question itself was becoming delightfully obsolete. Next. Marcus smiled. Next, we keep dreaming. After all, we've only just begun to imagine what's possible. Did you know that we're teaching causality to write fiction? It's got some fascinating ideas about plot twists. As the council chamber descended into another round of chaos, Zar-Ith couldn't help but feel a strange sense of excitement. Humanity had not just returned to the galaxy, they had awakened it, teaching it to dream alongside them. And somewhere in the quantum fabric of space, particles danced to the music of probability, stars shared jokes across light years, and the universe itself had begun to wonder what it might dream up next. The new universe order, it seemed, was less about order and more about possibility, and humanity wouldn't have it any other way.